15 minutes before 7 o'clock. Well, if you've ever driven through the village of McAdam, you know the train station there is something special. You could even say spectacular. It is a magnificent building. And when Mark Walma encountered it a few years ago, that building captured his imagination. And the result of that capture was a collection of short stories for children, written and illustrated especially for the McAdam Railway Station and Hotel. Now, the book is called Abigail Massey at McAdam Station, and all proceeds from the book are going to the McAdam Station Restoration Fund. Well, actually, I think it's the majority of the proceeds.
Yeah, we have to pay for printing, unfortunately. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, let me just hold the book up here for the camera shot, just so you can see it. That's the front cover. Now, author Mark Walma is in the studio with me this morning. Good morning. Thanks for coming in. Great to have you here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, walk me through the genesis of this idea.
Well, I'm glad you held the book up to start, because I think that's the first thing people see of it, and it's a product of the design expertise of my sister Lynn. She's in Toronto, and this is what makes people go, wow. You know, you talk about a local fundraising book and people think, what's it going to look like? Well, this is a beautifully produced book. But to get to your question, the genesis is really exactly what you just said. My sister Lynn was on her way up to visit us after we first moved here 4 years ago. Drove through McAdam on her way from Maine and passed this big, beautiful building and just thought, what the heck is that? She'd never heard of it. She'd never seen it anywhere. She'd gone through some of the tourism literature for New Brunswick because, you know, we had just moved here. And she arrived on our doorstep in Fredericton, and she didn't say hello. She didn't say, great to be here, wow, what a beautiful home you have.
Yeah.
She said, we have to go to McAdam right away. We have to go and see this building. And we did the next day.
Okay, and so how did you go from that to, hey, let's write a series of short stories?
It's an interesting story because it talks about, and I'm going to give all the credit to Lynn. It's her enthusiasm, her love for the building. We went back to McAdam, had a fantastic tour of the facility. As everyone knows, they're refurbishing it. They're working very hard on bringing it back to its original splendor. And this young man took us on this amazing tour, about a half hour, told us these fantastic stories of the history of the hotel, who had visited prime ministers, premiers, Barbara Ann Scott, the skater, but also mentioned that, you know, they're facing $10 or more million worth of renovations, and it's a town at the time of 1,500 people.
Right.
And so my sister said, you know, we have to do something about this. So, you know, the first thing we did was we went to the gift shop, and we bought everything they had in the gift shop. And that was $20, and we thought we can do more. And we kind of compared notes on our various skills. She's a designer and an illustrator. You'll see the illustrations inside. She's done those as well. And I'm a writer, and we said, you know, there's some great stories to be told here. Why don't we use the history of the station to preserve the history of the station? And so I started writing, and the result was Abigail Massey.
Okay, so you create a character, Abigail Massey.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about her.
Abigail's 16. She was born and raised in McAdam. Born in 1925, if I do my math correctly, because these stories are set in 1941. Her dad ran a men's clothing shop in McAdam, but fell on hard times in the Depression. And so 1941 rolls around, he's had to close up his shop, and he's taken a job at Briggs & Little in now what's called Harvey.
Right.
I've lost the name of exactly what it was.
It's Mills, something Mills.
Yeah, York Mills,
right.
I think. So he takes a job there. So he and his wife are going to be moving away. And Abigail's just finishing up high school. What can I do to contribute to Canada's war effort, she thinks. The best way in her mind for a young woman to contribute to Canada's war effort is to get a job at the McAdam Railway Station and Hotel and help the young men, the troops on those trains, make their way to Halifax to embark for Europe. And so the first story, in fact, is about herself and her cousin Martha from Fredericton applying for the job, going through a test from the stern Miss Pierce.
Let me read it from the back cover of the book. In Volume 1, Passing the Test, Abigail and her cousin Martha face the ultimate challenge. Can they pass the test, impress the stern hotel manager, and earn positions at the fabulous McAdam Railway Station and Hotel? And then in the next short story, In Trouble, the storm is raging, night is falling, the roads are slick and dangerous, and Abigail, Martha, and their friends are still miles away from McAdam Junction. Can they get back in time to save their jobs? can they get back at all? Who is this aimed at?
Well, it's funny, you know, people ask me that question, and, you know, the marketers that I've talked to said, you have to have a target audience. And I think they're written, well, we patterned them after Nancy Drew, if you remember the Nancy Drew Hardy Boy books from that era.
Yeah.
And the drawings in there are based on the drawings at the front of the books. We targeted them at ages about 8 to 12, I think, is the level to which they're written. But I've had a number of adults, including a number of adults from McAdam itself, read them over, and they say to me, Mark, these are stories that the kids can enjoy, but there's also something for adults. So who they're targeted at is children, but also anyone who loves New Brunswick, anyone who loves McAdam.
Okay, so you're envisioning a scenario where a mom or a father is putting their child to bed for the night, and they're going through this and they're reading them one of these stories.
Yes, I think that's a great way to think about it.
And it develops their awareness of an important part of New Brunswick's history, and it gives mom and or dad and the children some great time together talking about New Brunswick, good conversational opportunities there. How are you going to make this appeal, though, to a young person, a 10-year-old in the year 2012 who has a tenuous connection at best with 1941 and the personality of that time, right? The personality of the 1940s. Anne of Green Gables might struggle in the year 2012.
And that is something that I thought about, you know. Generally, when you write children's fiction, you're writing your hero or heroine is about 2 or 3 years older than your target audience. Well, Abigail at 16 is about equivalent to a 12-year-old today. She's not sophisticated from the standpoint of technology. It's a lot of oh golly, oh gee. You know, she's not going to be reading The Hunger Games, you know. So we recognize that it's going to be a younger audience. But the other thing that we're trying to do is say, look, if you have a good story, if you have interesting characters, if you can get emotions involved and get some tension and some suspense going, people are going to read it. And I think the kids, you know, it'll take a moment to adapt. But I remember, you know, I was a pretty sophisticated kid in 1981, and I read Hardy Boys and enjoyed them. So
sure,
we're hopeful that that will kind of break through. And as I said, the fact that it's about New Brunswick, it's about New Brunswick for New Brunswick, I think should appeal to people and get the parents reading it to their kids.
And I think some parents might welcome a simpler time, actually, being able to talk to their children about a simpler time where everyone didn't have an iPhone or an iPad or was on the internet,
exactly.
On Facebook, a time when Facebook didn't exist.
And as you say, if these books can help the families sit down together in the evening and read rather than spend time on the computer, that's all a great bonus.
And on that point, you know, it's nice to have the book, but a lot of families and a lot of children are tech savvy, right? So, is there a way that you can take Abigail's adventures and modernize it, electronize it, so that it becomes a podcast or something like that?
I should hire you. These are fantastic ideas. These are great ideas. You know, we've got a young woman with whom I work, Nicole Newman, who's been kind of providing us guidance on Twitter and Facebook and all those kind of things.
I follow you on Twitter.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. We follow you. But you know, we're trying to get tech savvy and to introduce into that world. But the idea that you're talking about making these a podcast or doing something online, whether it's a video presentation or having it read or whatever it happens to be, you can see my lack of sophistication technologically. Let's have it read online.
That would be what a podcast is: someone reading the book, so that the consumer, the child that you want to reach, just clicks on their iPhone or their iPod or iPad and hears it being read.
Well, that's a great idea, and it's one we're going to have to look into because you know, our goal is not just to raise funds for the Restoration Commission. It's also to continue to help them raise their profile. And if we can take advantage of podcasts, any kind of online presence, we will do that.
And one of my followers on Twitter, Chris Melvin, is saying the National Film Board may like it.
From your mouth to their ears, you know, anything we can do to promote the station and promote these books for their benefit, I'd love to do it.
So why are you doing it? You're not getting any money out of this. You're not going to get wealthy doing this. Is it just a sense of altruism that you want to help McAdam?
Wow, that's a tough question to answer without losing the whole humility thing. I think we're doing it because, and it's myself and my sister and a whole list of other people. I have them all listed here, but I won't, I think we're doing it because we feel that this building is so fantastic. We feel there's a huge need to support the effort of the Restoration Commission and the people of McAdam. We feel that, Patty and I moved, my wife and I moved here 4 years ago, and we love New Brunswick. From Ontario.
Okay.
And we just love the place. We're really enjoying living in Fredericton and being among the people of New Brunswick. And this is maybe our way of saying thanks. Thank you for welcoming us into your community. If this is something small we can do to support New Brunswick and its history, that's fantastic.
Oh, well done. And where can people get the books?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, because distribution's a tough part. People can pick them up at the McAdam Village office starting Thursday afternoon. I'm going to be at the Boyce Farmers Market in Fredericton this Saturday, at the special Sunday Christmas Market on Sunday, and then I'm going to be appearing at the McAdam Railway Station on the 15th as well, and then again on the Sunday Special Market on the 16th. And finally, we'll be at UNB's Millam Room the Thursday before Christmas.
Okay, do you have a website people can go to?
www.abigailmassey at ABIGAILMASSEY.ca.
Terrific. Thanks for coming in. Pleasure to meet you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mark Walma is the author of Abigail Massey at McAdam Station, a new collection of short stories set in the village of McAdam. And good morning to McAdam if you're listening. The book is selling for $9.99, and we have a copy of it in our Listener of the Week prize package, and we'll draw for that on Friday morning.